Hello and welcome to another episode of Geekgo. Today we're looking at the worst 10 episodes of Batman the Animated Series. Even the best series of all time has some bad episodes. And yeah, these episodes were quite hard to find, so in the top 10, some of them aren't really that bad, but just not up to par with the rest of the episode qualities. They're just sort of But let me assure you, at least the top 2 to 3 episodes really are bad. So let's get right to it. Here are the top 10 worst episodes of Batman the Animated Series. Number 10. On Leather Rings. Who would have thought the first episode according to production date is, well, on this list. The fact is, this episode could have been a lot better. This episode is the first time we see Man-Bat, and you would think, okay, Batman versus a Man-Bat would make a lot of sense and make a good episode. The problem is, it's actually a mediocre werewolf story in the Batman world. Just replace werewolf with were-bat. But the problem is, most of this episode focuses on police people thinking Batman's the culprit, because we haven't seen that before. And when you do see Man-Bat, there is nothing interesting about the character. The episode doesn't really utilize the fact that this is a Man-Bat. Apart from flying, there's no bat characteristics for Batman to deal with. Batman doesn't really use anything to do with sonic devices to distort the Man-Bat's hearing or seeing, nothing. That's why this is the number 10 episode, it's just... Number 9. Moon of the Wolf. And here we go, an actual werewolf episode. And if you've seen any other werewolf movie before, you know what to expect here. Everything is very generic and... Number 8. Day of the Samurai. One would think that Batman vs a ninja would make a very interesting and fun story. The problem is, Kyodai Ken, the ninja villain, is one of the most boring characters I've ever seen in the DC animated universe. He is the most typical villain ever. Oh, I want to do revenge, I want to steal this master trick and la 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 la. The reason why the other episode that he's in is not on this list is because that episode has some interesting characters in it. He's still boring as hell, but here there's no interesting character to contrast this boring, tedious, and just terribly cliche and predictable ninja. Oh god, I hate this character. Also, this episode focuses on one of those magical kung fu martial arts moves where one touch can kill you. Now, I'm from Hong Kong and I've seen a lot of martial art movies where this sort of thing has happened. Maybe it's overexposure to some sort of plot line like this, but I just don't find it believable and it's quite tedious. Just like his character. Oh, and this is one of the storylines where the two main characters fight in a lava-filled area. Huh, why is this some sort of curse? It seems everything where you have the two main characters fighting next to lava always turns out bad. Resident Evil 5, Star Wars Episode 3... must be some sort of curse. Number 7. Love is a Croc. I don't get this episode. On one hand, you have Killer Croc, who is, well, completely self-centered and clearly using Baby Doll. You also have Baby Doll, who is insanely in love with Killer Croc, no matter how bad he treats her. Does this sound familiar? Yes, it's Joker and Harley Quinn. What I do get is, Baby Doll and Killer Croc are both outcasts. We know this. But didn't Baby Doll have some sort of revelation at the end of her episode, when she was probably put away in Arkham Asylum or prison? This episode isn't that bad, it's just completely pointless. The characters themselves don't really get developed, and we get a story that could easily just be Joker and Harley Quinn. Number 6. Torch Song. This episode is about a guy who dresses up as a firefly and burns buildings. That's it, really? Oh, and he has a girlfriend. What is wrong with the Firefly character? You would think that a guy that dresses up as a Firefly and goes burn things down, it would be, well, decent at least. But it seems here nothing special happens to this character, and recently there was a Firefly character in the Arrow live action TV series, which is even worse. It seems that only the Batman cartoon TV series has gotten the Firefly character right and actually pushed him into interesting territories where he actually gets mutated into some sort of insane fire creature that is going to implode with him himself because his powers are overloading. Not much to say with this version though, he just likes to burn stuff. And he doesn't even have an interesting background story like the opposite Mr. Freeze. Number 5. Lock Up. Again, this episode is on this list because we have another character that's just sort of This guy is essentially a watered down Bane. He has no venom, no interesting background story, he's not that smart, he's not that strong. All he wants to do is to punish the criminals that locked up even more. And I have nothing else on this character. Moving on. Number 4. Judgment Day. At first this seems like quite a good episode. It progresses the Two-Face character in a logical pattern. He's a split personality person, but then in this episode he gets a third personality, which turns out to be an extreme version of his good side overpowering the other two sides. And this sounds like a logical progression of the character, but then think about it. The whole point of Two-Face is a Jekyll and Hyde scenario where you have the good personality and the bad personality. And his coin dictates chance on which side gets to do what they want. And so this third personality doesn't really make sense. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, it's a mix of both and I kinda get it, but it just sort of undermines the other Two-Faced personalities. Watching this episode for the first time is alright, but the more you see it, the more you question this episode and the more you just think, maybe this isn't a logical transition point for this character. Number 3. Nothing to Fear. This episode should be on the good list, but it's on here because of one scene. This scene is where the Scarecrow injects Batman with the fear toxin and he hallucinates this vision. While the idea and concept is quite good, the actual sight of it is Batman's father's head on top of a flame, like he was God or something. Moving on. Number 2. The Terrible Trio. This episode is actually Bruce Timm's least favorite episode, and I can see why. This episode is about 3 morons who dress up as 3 different animals who go on a crime spree. And that's it. There are some rich punks who like to dress up as different animals for the thrill seeking and go out and rob stuff. There's nothing special about the characters, they don't do anything to make them stand out. They just like to dress up as the 3 different animals for thrill seeking and go around robbing banks and stuff. This isn't even a hard case for Batman, the best detective in the world. He just goes out and I know exactly who you are and I'm gonna take you in now, so there you go. 0 personality, 0 challenge, just some douchebags who like to dress up as animals and go around robbing banks and stuff. Number 1. Mudslide. This episode is confusing because with the DC animated universe, you either have the best Clayface episodes ever, which were also one of the best episodes in the entire series, but then they also made the worst episode in the entire DC animated universe also about Clayface. Why? Well, the episode starts off okay. Clayface realizes that his clay form is falling apart and he's desperate to find a way to cure himself and turn himself back into a normal human being. He becomes friends with this doctor, who says that she has indeed found a cure. For some reason, Clayface refuses the help of Bruce Wayne and Wayne Enterprises to cure him. Don't ask me why. But then he decides to steal from Wayne Enterprises, which he could have got just by saying, "Yes, help me please?" The confusion and idiocy doesn't stop here. Batman of course has to stop Clayface from destroying Wayne Enterprises and stealing stuff, and ruins the plan seconds before Clayface is cured. Fans have always seen this as some sort of messed up ego on Batman's part. I mean, think about it. You originally offered to help this guy, yes he stole from you, but he's only minutes or seconds away from being completely cured, after which you can capture him much more easily because he's not Clayface anymore, it's just a human being. But no, Batman, you sabotage his entire cure, forcing yourself to fight Clayface, which is much more powerful than his ordinary human form, and because it's raining, causing his clay form to disintegrate even more, watch him drop down a cliff, essentially committing murder, or attempted murder because Clayface is alive in a few episodes later, and letting him fall into the ocean. What a douche! You see why this episode is on the top worst? It doesn't even come close to being in any sense of quality compared to the rest of the DC animated universe. There's just something bizarre going on here. What were the writers thinking? This episode's a piece of crap. It just doesn't make sense. It's so stupid. And to have something so stupid come from the best animated series in the entire world, it's just, my god, what were you thinking? It's just, ugh. And it's not just one character that's stupid, it's all of them. But the rest of the episodes on this list are just sort of like, it doesn't make sense and kind of boring. This one is just downright terrible, making me want to puke. The only upside I can say of this is that they redeemed themselves with the next Clayface episode in the new Batman Adventures, but I still feel sour on this episode. My god, this episode is bad. So there you go, here's my top 10 worst Batman animated series episodes. What do you think? What are your favourite or worst episodes? Please comment, suggest and subscribe below. So tune in next time for the next episode about the best top 10 Batman movies ever. Bye!